Hello, one and all. Welcome to another episode of MMA Vision Analysis. This one, I'm here to discuss Shafqat Rakhmonov's recent remarks in regards to Belal Muhammad and the current welterweight champion supposedly declining a fight against Shafqat Rakhmonov due to timing, apparently. But before getting started, make sure to like, comment, subscribe, and click that notification to get all of this that is new from this channel, your channel, the one and only MMA Vision Analysis. Welterweight division in the UFC has a new champion after the night of UFC 304. Obviously, Belal Muhammad was able to capture that title by defeating the former middleweight champion, Leon Edwards. The guy that almost looked unbeatable at certain points. I mean, after all, he knocked out Kamaru Usman, former welterweight champion. Belal Muhammad flew under the radar for the majority of the time, to the point where most fighters were easily overlooking him, including the former welterweight champion, Leon Edwards, which ultimately I think helped Belal Muhammad get to that title. Obviously, now that Belal is the champion, I don't want to say he gets to pick and choose who he fights, but he definitely has a say in when or who or where the fight happens. It makes sense. He is the champion after all. That being said, we have many possible matchups for Belal Muhammad. I thought personally that the closest matchup for Belal is an immediate rematch against former welterweight champion Leon Edwards, unless the UFC has other ideas. And by other ideas, I mean by that I mean that perhaps Leon has to beat somebody else in order for him to get a title shot. Maybe Leon Edwards versus Shafqat Rakhmonov is a very feasible, possible option, a realistic fight to make. Now, Shafqat Rakhmonov has had a few comments to make in regards to the current welterweight champion, Belal Muhammad. Shafqat claims that Belal declined a fight against Shafqat Rakhmonov due to timing. Now, I wouldn't assume that these statements are something that Shafqat's making up. I think that there is, truth behind these statements. I don't think Belal Muhammad is necessarily afraid to take on a Shafqat Rakhmonov. The guy just defeated Leon Edwards, okay? Shafqat Rakhmonov's last opponent was Stephen Wonderboy Thompson. With all respect to Stephen Wonderboy Thompson, but he's almost 40 years old, the latter. So if we were to compare last opponents, Leon Edwards obviously was defeated by the current welterweight champion Belal Muhammad, and Stephen Wonderboy Thompson, almost 40-year-old Stephen Wonderboy, whose best days are behind him, was just defeated by Shafqat. So I don't even know how we can mention Shafqat and Belal Muhammad in the same sentence, in all honesty, when we have much more feasible matchups that could possibly happen, which are closer to happening, like a possible matchup between former welterweight champion Kamaru Usman and Belal Muhammad. I mean, Belal has expressed interest in such matchup, and I do understand that Kamaru Usman is a couple losses, 2-3 losses in a row at this point. But if Belal and the UFC wants to make it work, this is a fight that will sell pay-per-views. This is a fight that would be an international event, in all honesty. So I would not be opposed to Kamaru Usman versus Belal Muhammad. I think that Shafqat has to get through one more name before he gets to a title shot, and that's perhaps what's closer to reality. I mean, after all, who has Shafqat defeated? I do understand it's like 18-0, and he is undefeated, but who has the guy defeated? His last opponent was Stephen Wonderboy Thompson. So, in all honesty, personally, I don't quite get the hype yet. When you start facing top 5 guys and defeating them, no disrespect to Shafqat here, but that's when I will start to take more notice and speak of you in the same category as the champion. But I don't even know the ranking of Stephen Wonderboy Thompson in the welterweight division. I mean, the guy's best days are behind him. It's very clear. So I think a win over Stephen Wonderboy Thompson does not propel you to a title shot. That just does not make sense. But in the world of UFC, it can make sense if the UFC wants it to. So there are many possible matchups. Obviously, the Shafqat Rakhmonov is definitely one of them. I'm not dismissing that as a silly idea, but it most certainly is a silly idea when you have other guys, the likes of Leon Edwards, Kamaru Usman, and even Colby Covington, who I think could probably be more deserving of a title shot than Shafqat Rakhmonov. And I do understand why people may disagree with such a proposition, but you have to be top guys in order for you to get to that title. That's just my personal opinion. Shafqat Rakhmonov's last opponent was Stephen Wonderboy Thompson. With all respect to Wonderboy, but we can't compare. That's just the level it's a huge gap. I'm not saying that Shafqat does not have the opportunity to probably face for that, title next. But what I'm trying to say here is that the guy has to earn his spot, and I believe Belal Muhammad is going to opt to face a guy like Kamaru Usman or a Colby Covington, even perhaps could be entertained because those kind of fights are going to sell pay-per-views. The Shafqat fight, I just don't see that selling pay-per-views. Just being honest here. Shafqat versus Leon Edwards is probably more feasible. Shafqat versus Kamaru Usman, and the winner of that fight gets to face the champion is probably more realistic. But Shafqat versus Belal, to me, it just doesn't make sense at this point. If you made it this far, I appreciate it for sticking around. Please let me know what you think in the comments and subscribe for more.